The COVID-19 pandemic has greatly impacted how we work, how we interact with each other, and how societal structures operate. Throughout this transformation, we have witnessed the courage of frontline and essential workers. We have also seen innovations abound and individuals coming together to find solutions for real time-sensitive problems. One of those individuals is Opher Baron, who is a distinguished professor of operations management at the Rotman School of Management within the University of Toronto. When the COVID pandemic began and PPE shortages became apparent, Professor Baron and his colleagues used their expertise in supply chain management to create an online platform connecting PPE suppliers to organizations in need. The platform is free to use and was quickly mobilized to fill this need. UTIHI is honored to be interviewing Professor Baron in order to learn more about the Covid PPE Pphelp.ca initiative and to discuss supply chain management in healthcare context. So welcome, Professor Baron, and thank you so much for dedicating your time towards this interview.
Hey, Melanie. Thanks for inviting me. It's a pleasure seeing you and joining this interview.
Awesome. So first, can you just tell us a bit about yourself and your extensive background in operations management?
So I did my undergrads in industrial engineering and management at Technion. Then I did my MBA over there. I then pursued my PhD in operations management at MIT. And in 2003, I joined the Rotman School in the operations management and statistics area. And this is 17 years by now that I'm working here. And during this period, we are with my colleagues working a lot and thinking a lot on many topics. Among them is also supply chain management, as you reminded.
Awesome, that's great. And I know that I had a course with you too, in which we did Excel and lots of operation management. So yeah, it's great to have you here to talk about your perspective in that. So my next question for you is, what is Covid PPE Pphelp.ca and what is the overall goal for this platform?
Good questions. The main idea of Covid PPE Pphelp.ca is to enable creation of a marketplace for PPE. So if you think about marketplaces, starting from kind of fruit and vegetable markets, if you wish, the idea there is that you have a lot of information that flowing among the suppliers and the customers of the items. And this flow helps to make the market efficient. Suppliers offer what they have, customers see what is there, and they can take decisions about what to sell and to whom to sell and in which price to sell in a good fashion. What happened with PPE, 6 months ago by now, was that the original supply chain broke. So rather than having a market like a market where we sell vegetables and fruits kind of to each other, the PPE supply chain is completely different in the sense that it was very, very known. The only people who needed PPE were mostly healthcare workers, but some others, in food and manufacturing and so on. But it was very well-known demand with not a lot of variability, lots of certainty, several very specific suppliers, several very specific customers. So what happened as suddenly COVID came and demand for PPE increased, the supply chain broke. The suppliers didn't have enough capacity. And the key issue is that now when new suppliers wanted to join the market because there was a higher demand and there were more customers, new customers that joined the market, they couldn't really do it. They didn't know how to sell their items. So if you think the common example is face masks, we are using many new face masks that are basically being tailored, and people started producing these face masks. So t-shirts manufacturers, if you wish, started producing face masks, or could start producing face masks, but they couldn't sell them because they had no idea where is the demand and how to find customers. So here is the idea of PPE Covid PPE Pphelp.ca was to create this visibility. So to allow to customers to register their demands, to allow suppliers to register their supply in one place where you can see and there is visibility of the market from both sides, like in a fruits and vegetables market or in financial markets, if you wish. So this visibility of what is the available supply, what is the required demand, allows a better matching of supply and demand in general. And that was the main idea behind our platform at the beginning.
That's really interesting. It's definitely a very complex problem that you and your team tackled. My next question for you is, what motivated you and your fellow Rotman faculty members to co-create Covid PPEHelp.ca?
So, as I mentioned, we work on supply chain management for many years. One of the more interesting research and practice in supply chain management is what's called the matching market. So if you think about Uber or Airbnb and so on, the idea is to have, you know, a group of suppliers and matching them with a group of customers in an effective fashion. And we thought that this ability to match people, suppliers and customers together is important, and it basically cuts the supply chain. So one of the things with very, very long supply chains is that when something happens here, it takes a lot of time until the suppliers knows about it, and then they react, and then it takes a lot of time until customers really see the response from suppliers. In a matching market, which directly match customers and suppliers, all of this long lead time and response are significantly shorter because information flows immediately. So the idea was to try and take advantage of this and the modern technology, which allows us to kind of put things on the web and everybody can see what is there. One of the trigger point that pushed us to do that is that in Wuhan, in the first months of the COVID outbreak, the only way that really the supply chain worked was essentially through such social media applications. So they use WeChat a lot, and basically there were groups of WeChats, and this allowed to PPE equipment to flow. And we said, hey, we can do the same here, especially 6 months ago there was a huge shortage of PPE. We were lucky to meet a group of web developers, very enthusiastic, that volunteered their time to create a platform. And within 2 weeks, we had a working beta. Within another 2 weeks, we went on air and were able to get suppliers and customers to join the platform.
That's great. That's a great example of using technology and bringing different skill sets together to make a very useful platform. My question for you is, how did your background in operations management help with the design and the creation of this platform?
Good. So the main idea that we had is, if I mentioned about this kind of long supply chain and delays that take a lot of time to get from one place to another and propagate through the system, the main idea is kind of curve this supply chain and make it very short. So creating visibility in the supply chain is obviously something that is helpful. It allows a flow of information quickly from suppliers to customers and vice versa. It also cuts the middleman and allows to reduce prices. Because if I can sell something directly to you and there are no 10 other people in the middle, that allows to reduce prices. All in all, shortening the supply chain and creating visibility allows for a better supply chain in general. So this is kind of theory that we know about, and there's many, many examples in the past that have investigated this. And when you can put this to practice in a context of an emergent situation where you see, hey, there is shortage there are people who are willing to help, but they don't know how, you say, hey, that's the right application. And, sitting in the ivory tower, many times we have great ideas, but we don't want to pursue them. We like to write them. We like to kind of talk about them with each other and maybe make fun of others who don't do it, but we don't typically try to do it. This time we felt that there is really required action. And we, as I said, we were lucky to meet people who helped us with that and kind of essentially did it, because I have no idea how to plan a web page and make a database that will help matching customers with each other, with suppliers and so on. Luckily, we had the experts' help that could take this dream and idea and make it a reality.
Yeah, it's really good to hear that you were able to execute this because, as you said, a lot of people, they come up with ideas, but they don't really go through the execution phase. And I think one of those reasons why is the challenges that people face. So can you speak a bit about what challenges your team faced when creating Covid Pphelp.ca?
So I think let me talk about two levels of challenge. One of them is kind of creating the platform, and the other one kind of the challenges in the market. So creating the platform, you need to know how to do that. You need to make it efficient, user-friendly, and you need to have a good database behind it that will help communicating things to you and to customers and suppliers effectively, and allows you to make the matching in a good fashion. And you need to know how to think about it, you need to know how to build it, and it's a lot of time, it's a lot of investment. Given the situation of COVID, we had volunteers who helped with that. And the second part of just having the product is also creating the demand for it and making people know about it. So, there was a clear demand in the market, but still, I don't know many hospitals, I don't know many retailers, I don't know many people who I can come and tell, hey, this is a place for you to buy PPE. I don't know any suppliers of PPE. So the second challenge was to create this kind of bulk of demand and supply on the platform. And again, we had some volunteers that help us with finding suppliers, finding customers. So at the beginning, we basically emailed long-term care homes, say, hey, if you need PPE, this is a place where you can get that. We got connection with suppliers and kind of populated the first few suppliers and first few customers really by hand to hand. Then once this occurred and there was more information about the platform and the Ontario government put it on their webpage and so on, there's a much larger information about the platform and many more users are coming. We today have over 1,600 registered users. So that was kind of making it from a zero to something that works, and both in terms of the marketing and in terms of the operation and having the right tools there. And one of the things that we decided is obviously that the platform would be free for everybody who use it. Again, just because we wanted to help elevate a need. So that was this challenge of kind of creating a product that would work and would catch in the market. The second challenge was essentially the shortage in the market. So, shortage can always be kind of played with in view of prices. So at the beginning, essentially, suppliers that came in with very high prices because they were the only suppliers and they didn't have enough supply to cover everything. So the first kind of challenge was, hey, there were a few suppliers that were willing to come, but the prices were very high. But this was already better than not having suppliers at all. So some organizations kind of came and were still happy with this. With time, after the shortage kind of decreased a little bit, well, in fact, maybe step back. One thing that was the first shortage was in face masks. The second shortage was in gloves. Then it was gone. So there was kind of different shortage and different times during the pandemic. I think now we are not at the place where there is shortage. There's enough, at least in Canada, there's enough supply of PPE. Now the critical things are two other issues that existed from the beginning. One of them is, I don't know if a mask that I have is good. I don't know how to test it. So the quality of the masks, the quality of the PPE is an important parameter, and you should be careful about what you buy, that it serves the needs that you have. So quality and how to manage quality, and this is something we still don't have a solution for. The only solution that we have in the platform is essentially sharing with customers the quality assurance from suppliers, their certification of originality and so on for the items. So that was one thing that we've done and helped a lot with in terms of the quality of supply. The second challenge, if we talked about prices to help meet the demand, prices are sometimes high still. And one of the things behind it is several of the suppliers we have are large suppliers. They are interested in sending, a container of PPE equipment. And there are not too many people who need a container of equipment. So now there's a large supplier and many small people, you and I suddenly are customers of PPE, right? I need PPE for my kids to go to school. Suddenly. They need masks, they need hand sanitizers and so on, gloves. So I want to buy a small quantity, suppliers want to sell a large one. So that was a big issue. And recently we came up with the notion of group buying. So now you can go into the webpage and join our group buy, and this will help us to collect many demands and then connect them to a supplier, reduce the price significantly, and allow, again, a better flow of demand. So creating large batch rather than many small ones to allow taking advantage of wholesale prices and reduce prices.
Wow. So given all of those challenges and the time crunch with the situation with COVID, how is your team able to efficiently design and launch the COVID Pphelp.ca platform, given all of these challenges and the immediate need for PPE?
So really our developers did an excellent work with it. As I said, within 2 weeks, they had a working beta model. We thought a little bit about what information we need, what information we want to share. We looked at the money that it will cost us to allow the web page to be hosted and be out there, and just planning what will be the right information and the right way of arranging things, and the visual way of creating the platform and how it should be friendly. The one thing that we really wanted to make sure is that there is this visibility, so information will flow directly from customers to suppliers. And that's in order to have this, we basically created tables that you can look at. Hey, if I want masks, KN95 masks, I can look at all of the KN95 masks, and I can look at all of the suppliers and what they offer, look at their quality assurance, look at their prices, look at the minimum batch size requirement, and so on. So I know what is the price in the market. And similarly, suppliers can look at customers and see what is the demand in the market. Some suppliers basically decided to allow smaller batches to be sent. They didn't plan to allow smaller batches, but they saw that there are smaller batches and say, all right, I'll do that. I'll take the effort. And I think, again, the spirit of volunteering from everyone, suppliers and our volunteer team, was just amazing in creating an efficient solution.
I love to hear that when you have people come together for a really important cause. My next question is in relation to an article from the University of Toronto, where Professor Cross, who is a co-creator of Covid Pphelp.ca, mentions that informational opaqueness was an issue with the supply chain. So can you tell us a bit more about this issue and how the platform sort of combats this?
Right, so we talked about the visibility of information and the demand and the supply. One of the things that is common in most markets is that information flows in one direction. So if you think about Amazon, say, I go there, I can see what is the supply, I can see what is the prices. Suppliers that go there cannot see that what is my demand, what are the prices I'm willing to give, and so on. And this is what is common to many platforms. If you think about Uber, again, when I put my offer out there, they show it to a few people and they can choose, and I see a few people. These people don't hear about the entire market. Drivers don't hear about the entire market in terms of passengers, and passengers don't really hear about the entire market of drivers. So one of the key issues to reduce the opaqueness of information for us was to create this visibility in both sides. Suppliers can see customers, customers can see suppliers, and so forth. And again, this is kind of shortening the supply chain, as I said at the beginning, and allows suppliers to plan better. Hey, I see demand there. I see demand for masks of type 3. That's what I need to produce. I see demand for gowns. That's what I need to produce. Yes. And sanitization, that's what I need to produce. So it allows the market to suppliers to build the right capacities, and it allows customers to see what are the things that they have and what are the price, and to plan ahead. Maybe one important point on this, one of the other things that we've done in the platform is to try and help non-for-profit and charitable organizations. Many of these organizations they obviously didn't plan to purchase PPE. They didn't have the funds to do that. So we are now raising money to support such organizations. They came to us with demands, and we helped support several organizations already. Several of our suppliers basically were willing to donate items freely to charitable organizations. And again, as you said, it's great to see how people come together in a time like this. And even if they take a little bit a dip in their pocket, they are willing to help for some important causes.
Awesome. And I think you sort of touched on my next question a bit, but I was wondering if you can sort of summarize how Kovet PPE Help has aided the supply chain process, and what system improvements has this platform led to?
Right. So I think the first thing is really enabling the flow of millions of items of PPE from suppliers to customers. We don't keep transactions on our platform. We don't take money for it, right? So our only way to kind of try and keep track of what is going on is by what we hear from suppliers and customers. And we can also look at kind of changes of demand, right? If I put 200 masks today and tomorrow I take it off, probably I got these 200 masks somehow. But basically what we heard from suppliers and from some customers is millions of items that our platform help exchange. And, for us, this is really the most important issue, because this essentially saves life. The fact that there is PPE out there, that people can go and continue their new routine at some fashion is another benefit, right? There's more economical activity that is being allowed due to that there is PPE to buy. So this was the really main two benefits. Again, when we see donations and charitable organizations that can keep working during the pandemic is another huge benefit. So all in all, the first challenge, as I said, was there was nobody knew what is the demand, nobody knew what is the supply, and we overcame this. Then the challenge was that prices were very high, and the fact that you create a market like this obviously reduced prices. And then when more supply came, obviously prices went down. The other challenge was in terms of quality certification and making sure that we have the right quality. So we added this to the webpage and to the platform as we go. And finally, the last challenge, which is small customers, large suppliers, the group buying is kind of helping with that.
My next question is, what has this experience revealed about the supply chain in regards to our healthcare system?
Good point. I'll be careful about what I'm saying, because I'm not an expert in the field. But from my understanding, what happens typically in the healthcare is, while we have a provincial healthcare, each hospital is typically responsible for their own procurement. There are several hospital networks that procure together, but in general, hospitals are responsible for their own procurement. in a time of crisis when there is no supply, this creates some internal competition. So hospital A is trying to outbid hospital B for the same equipment. And we heard about this in the States where states were kind of trying to outbid each other, which was funny. So there's a semi-decentralized system, semi-centralized system. One of the first things that have been done in this context is that the Ontario government decided to centralize the procurement, at least for hospitals. And they started kind of purchasing centrally and then dividing it to the different hospitals. I think it was the right solution at a time of crisis when there was no PPE kind of, and you don't want to kind of compete against each other. On the other hand, I believe that centralized market is cannot be efficient. What happens is that there is too much information for one person to be able to process it and effectively create this match between the right supply and the right demand. It's a good dream. I like this dream of somebody really smart, kind of having all the information, knowing what's the supply, knowing what is the demand. Communism at its best, if you wish, but we know this fails. We know that it cannot be done. Even in PPE, in my short experience now, there's no way I can create all of the matching, even on our platform with only 1,600 users, right? If you look on the entire country, on the entire province, this just can't be done. So independent procurement, decentralized procurement is probably the market power, right? That's what we call the market power. They know how to do this much better than a central person can do. And I think that at the beginning it was kind of a good way of, hey, there's nothing, rather than everybody chase it. Hey, let me chase it and I'll divide it to everybody, because as the province has done, it was really nice. I don't know what is the situation now, but I don't believe that the centralization of supply chain is the effective solution. Even now, there are anecdotal evidence where we saw that people kind of signed contracts with some suppliers, and their prices were significantly higher than prices that we could find on our platform. Say, hey, why did you sign this contract with this supplier? There's significantly cheaper one. But there's a central decision making. That's what they've done, and it's done. And you pay more than what you could have been paid for the same quality of items. So really trying to answer your question, there was a push for centralized supply chain for PPE, especially in the healthcare. I think that I personally, and my experience doesn't support that this is a very effective way of managing business day to day. And now I don't know what is the situation currently, but I believe that because there is less pressure, they went back to kind of this semi-decentralized, as I said, system in the healthcare industry. And we've seen some contracts that are very good in the sense that they allow to reduce uncertainty and get you good prices on things. I've also seen some contracts that reduce uncertainty, but you pay too much for them. Not necessarily in the healthcare, just to emphasize, but kind of in the past.
On that note, do you see the platform entering different areas of healthcare? Do you think it can be involved in another healthcare application, or can it be modified to be used in other areas within healthcare?
Yeah, again, it's a great question. Basically, if you look at our platform, as you said earlier, the main issue is that I have a market, I have suppliers, I have customers, I have suppliers, and I can kind of create visibility between them. So this would help for any market if you wish, not necessarily in healthcare. If you think about employers market, right? There's someone who needs plumbers, and I can say, I need a plumber. There are plumbers that can come to the platform and can see that. You think about organic food, you say, hey, I'm providing organic tomatoes, organic carrots, and organic apples, and you want to buy them, and so on. So every such market, presumably the platform can work. In healthcare, I think we've been kind of pushed to add more and more items to the system. At some point, people asked us to also add ventilators to the platform, but because we don't have any way to assure quality, we are very careful about this. Right? I don't know. Looking at a ventilator, I don't know if it works well, if it does what it should, and we're talking about lives here, so we are very cautious about that. We did extend our platform to more and more items, but for now, at least, we are at the Covid PPE help.ca, kind of focus on Covid and PPE stuff. One of the reasons for this is also, it's not a company. We are not making money out of it. It's still volunteering work. We received some donations over the time, which is wonderful and help us significantly. But I know, maybe if I would be a for-profit business, I would think more strongly about what are the next steps and how can I make a buck out of it. But for now, we haven't done that.
So as the pandemic continues to evolve and we enter a new phase of this pandemic, what are your goals for the Covid PPE help.ca platform?
I think in the short term, as I said, there are two things that we are working on, which I think are really important. The group buying is one of them, and the charitable organization and non-profit organization is one of them. We see more registering to the platform every day, even now when things are significantly common. And I want to see the platform going to hell. I don't want to see any need for it, but I'm afraid this is not the situation. And as we see, even in the last couple of days, there is an increase in COVID cases. It was quite obvious that once we open the economy and school starts and so on, there's going to be an increase in cases. The question is, where will we stop that increase? And I think in this sense, one of the things that often helps in market that they overreact. So, in March, in April, we had lots of shortages. Then the market corrected itself and there's lots of supply now. If we still need PPE, 6 months down the road, I'm really afraid that we'll find ourselves in shortages again, because currently nobody's looking to import PPE anymore because, there's enough PPE here. The lead time, is 3 months. If I don't buy it today, in 3 months from today, I don't have any supply. And if this is being ignored, that's overcorrection. This is something that I'm afraid about. And I think that the platform would be helpful to prevent this, because once you see demand starting to rise again, you will know that, you need to respond, and hopefully suppliers can kind of look at this and see the increase in demand and respond earlier than without this platform. Again, going back to my visual effect earlier of customers here and supplier here, and many steps until you learn about what's going on. With the suppliers, you see what's going on immediately. With the platform, you see what's going on immediately, and hopefully people will be able to respond faster, which will decrease this kind of what is called the bullwhip effect in the supply chain. So I'm afraid that while I don't want to see the platform working anymore, we will see it working. We will see it keep doing this group buy, the matching, the support for charitable organizations, and hopefully it will help to reduce these huge fluctuations in supply and demand that may exist in a market with as much uncertainty as we have for PPE these days.
That's true. My next question is, what has been the most rewarding experience so far with the creation of the Covid PPE help.ca platform for you?
So all in all, is just seeing that we helped. That's certainly the most important one. We ran a survey to our customers and suppliers. When you see that there are 30 million items that were exchanged through the platform, you say, hey, that's great, right? I mean, I actually feel that we help save life and we are helping the economy. So that is really the most important thing. The second thing is, just as you said earlier, seeing how people come together and the volunteering spirit of the group of guys that help us, the students that help us, the web developers, and also suppliers who were willing to donate their equipment for free, basically, or at cost, where we use donations to pay for this. And as you said, when you see people come together, it's great. It gives you a sense of power. Nature is significantly stronger than each one of us on its own. When we are all together, when we work together, we can still make a difference. We will not overturn nature in a minute without effort, but we can change things. And I think that this just was a great experience to see how people coming together. We had many volunteers that came to help, and everybody lent a hand. Donations that we are collecting, as I said, it's just great to see that. And I think, all in all, independently of the platform, just saying that COVID is under control, at least in Canada, in many other places as well, kind of, you have a sigh of relief from that. Obviously, there are places where we see crazy growth in cases, even in the last couple of weeks, and this is something you keep watching, right? You keep watching. You want to see that there's not much of that, and hopefully, we'll find a way to deal with this and make it just a flu, right? So the many people are referring to the Spanish flu 100 years ago, in essence, that killed so many people around the world. And now it's just a flu. And I hope that COVID, will become just a flu. And even if you get it, it's not going to be so large. And also with buildup of some herd immunity, you will just not get it as easily. So you'll be immune to it and you will not get sick out of it. So, yeah, that's just hopes.
Well, I really like that sentiment you mentioned about people coming together and making the platform possible and, just donating their time. So I'm sure there's many individuals who are watching this and many suppliers who are watching this, and they're wondering how can they get involved with Kovitt, Pphelp.ca. So what are some roles that you need to be filled for this platform, and what are some opportunities for people to get involved with it?
So first of all, I'll step back and say one of the important things for the platform is still to create word of mouth about its existence. With this in mind, I'm thanking you for having me here, because I think this is critical to have more people knowing about the existence of this platform and being able to use it. The more people that will use it, the more information flow that we'll have, and I think we'll be better off in terms of the supply chain for PPE and supplying of PPE. I think suppliers and customers can just join the platform. So, go to Pphelp.ca, register, say what you need or say what you're willing to supply. You can do that. You can also donate some money for us. And maybe that's a time to thank the Rotman School that allows us to use their fundraising platform, in essence, to collect donations for our platform. So if you go to our platform, you can, I guess you can find where to donate. It's easy to find there. And then you'll go to the Rotman webpage and say, hey, you can donate. The first line is Pphelp.ca, so people can help that. And if there are other people who want to help in another fashion and volunteer, they think that they can bring something to the party, they can contact me, and I'll see what are our day-to-day needs and how we can take advantage of additional volunteers. And they may help us in either running the platform day to day. There's basically 2 full-time jobs of people who are volunteering to do that, and maybe they can use some help.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Professor Baron. Those are all the questions I have for you today. But I really appreciate you taking the time to walk us through Covid pphelp.ca and just to talk about supply chain management in a healthcare context. So yes, thank you so much for just making time for this.
Thank you very much, Melanie, for having me here, and again for I appreciate the ability to discuss this because it brings more people into the system, and I still think this is, as I said, while I would like it not to be needed, I still think that it serves an important role in us fighting against COVID. So thank you very much for having me here, and it's good to see you again.
Good to see you too. Take care, be safe. And for anyone who's interested in Covid pphelp.ca, feel free to check out the website. As Professor Baron mentioned, it's free to register. Any suppliers, any individuals who are looking to get involved, very easy, all on the website, and you can take it from there for more information. So have a good night, Professor Baron.
Thank you very much, Melanie. Bye-bye.